The old Victorian house stood stoic at the end of Archer Street, its architecture casting a unique look to the rest of the houses on the street. My husband and I were overjoyed to have found such a charming house for our new life in North Carolina. The creaky wooden floors, the grand staircase, and the vintage charm of the place promised a home where we could build our future. Little did we know that the history of this house held secrets that would slowly unravel to haunt our every moment. It began innocently enough. A soft murmur, barely audible, lingering in the air during the quiet hours of the night. I brushed it off as the normal settling of an old house, the time-worn groans that accompany the shifts of wood and brick. Yet, the whispers persisted, growing in clarity as the days unfolded. I'd hear them as I lay in bed, a muffled conversation that seemed to emanate from within the walls that surrounded us. At first, I attributed it to the overactive imagination that often accompanies moving into a new space. My husband dismissed my concerns, blaming the sound on the echoes of the quiet street or the rustling leaves outside our bedroom window. But as the whispers continued, I could no longer ignore the unsettling feeling that something within the house was trying to communicate with us. One sleepless night, curiosity made me follow the whispers, allowing their faint traces to guide me through the dark hallways. They led me to a hidden room on the 3rd floor, a room we had not explored since moving in. The door creaked open reluctantly, revealing a space frozen in time. Antique furniture draped in dusty sheets and faded wallpaper peeling away like memories. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, as I entered the room. The air felt charged with an unseen energy. I listened intently, straining to understand the words carried by the voices. They spoke of tragedy, of lost love, and of a family torn apart by circumstances beyond their control. It was as if the essence of the house held the imprints of past lives, and those lives were reaching out to us. Determined to unveil the mystery, I delved into the history of our Victorian house. The more I researched, the more I unraveled the tale of sorrow that had unfolded. The previous owners had experienced a series of inexplicable deaths, a chain of misfortune that had left a lingering imprint. It seemed that the whispers were the echoes of their suffering, a desperate attempt to convey a message that had been buried with them. As I shared my findings with my husband, the weight of the revelation settled upon us. We couldn't deny the noticeable sense of sorrow that permeated the air. The Victorian charm now felt like a facade, concealing the anguish trapped within. We faced a choice: confront the spirits that lingered in our home or abandon the dreams we had built on Archer Street. One fateful night, guided by an otherworldly force, we gathered the courage to communicate with the spirits. Armed with candles and an old Ouija board, we entered the room where the whispers were strongest. The planchette moved with a life of its own, spelling out names and messages that resonated with the tragic history we had uncovered. The atmosphere in the room shifted, and a cold breeze swept through, extinguishing the candles. Shadows danced on the walls, and the temperature plummeted. A figure materialized before us, an ethereal woman whose eyes held a depth of sorrow that transcended time. She spoke through the planchette, recounting the events that had unfolded within these walls. As the words flowed, we felt the weight of her pain, a sorrow that demanded acknowledgement and release. At that moment, we made a pact with the spirits of Archer Street. As the weeks passed, the atmosphere in our home changed. The whispers softened, replaced by a sense of tranquility that we hadn't felt since moving in. The spirits seemed to find solace in our acknowledgement of their presence. Our once haunted Victorian house now felt like a sanctuary where the past and present coexisted in harmony. The experience changed us, leaving a mark on our lives. We became caretakers of not just a house but a history that transcended generations. Our home, once shrouded in mystery and sorrow, now stood as a testament to the power of acknowledging and honoring the past. The whispers, though faded, lingered like the gentle rustling of leaves in the wind, a reminder that the stories of Archer Street were etched into the very walls that surrounded us. And as we settled into a newfound sense of peace, we couldn't help but wonder what tales the walls of other old houses whispered to those who dared to listen. Our new suburban home was a sanctuary away from the bustling city. There were windows around the house which led sunlight to pour in the house, promising a haven of peace. Yet, tranquility can often be deceiving. Our journey into the unknown began innocently enough: a fresh start in a new neighborhood, a charming house, and the thrill of unpacking boxes filled with aspirations and dreams. It wasn't until the first morning routine that I noticed an unsettling presence. The bathroom, pristine and inviting, harbored an eerie secret. Each morning, as I stood before the mirror, toothbrush in hand, I glimpsed something in the reflection, an obscure figure lurking in the shadows behind me. At first, I dismissed it as a trick of the light, a byproduct of a tired mind adjusting to a new environment. But the figure persisted. Day by day, it grew more defined, more tangible. A silhouette, barely distinguishable, seemed to materialize with each glance into the mirror. It was there when I brushed my teeth, washed my face, or combed my hair. Always present, always silent, just beyond the edge of my perception. One evening, the figure had become an unavoidable companion, and I could no longer ignore its haunting presence. With a deep breath, I turned away from the mirror, expecting the figure to dissipate like mist. However, when I spun around to face the room, there was nothing. An empty, ordinary bathroom stared back at me. But in the mirror, the shadowy figure remained, its features twisted. The next morning, fueled by a mixture of fear and determination, I decided to confront the apparition. Armed with a sense of reluctant courage, I turned to face the mirror and stared directly into the eyes of the figure. What I saw sent a chill racing down my spine. The face was mine, yet distorted and tormented, a reflection of agony etched into every line. As I reached out tentatively to touch the mirror, the figure mirrored my actions. Cold, ethereal fingers met mine, separated only by the thin glass. The connection sent shivers through my entire being, and I recoiled, stumbling back from the haunting encounter. Determined to unravel the mystery, I delved into the history of our house. The answers, I hoped, would be hidden in the dusty pages of forgotten tales. The search led me to a series of old newspapers, revealing a tragic incident that had unfolded within these walls. A family, once filled with love and joy, had met an unsettling death under mysterious circumstances. The father, driven to madness, had taken the lives of his wife and children before taking his own. The more I learned, the clearer the connection between the past and the present became. The tormented figure in the mirror bore a striking resemblance to the man who had committed those acts. It was as if his anguished spirit lingered, trapped in the reflective surfaces of the house, unable to find peace. Haunted by the revelation, I consulted experts in the paranormal, delving into rituals and incantations that promised release for trapped spirits. Each attempt, however, only seemed to intensify the connection between me and the reflection. The figure's silent screams echoed in my mind, a symphony of suffering that refused to be silenced. One stormy night, as lightning illuminated the darkness, I stood once more before the haunted mirror. The figure appeared more desperate, more intense in its silent plea. Determined to end this spectral torment, I recited an incantation learned from ancient texts, my voice trembling with a mixture of fear and conviction. As the last words escaped my lips, the bathroom seemed to freeze in time. The air crackled with an otherworldly energy, and the figure in the mirror convulsed in a silent scream. A blinding light enveloped the room, and for a moment, I felt weightless. When the light subsided, the bathroom returned to normalcy. The figure, now a mere reflection of a reflection, lingered for a moment before fading into obscurity. The connection between us severed, leaving me standing alone in a room that felt both lighter and heavier at the same time. The house, once lingering sorrow, embraced a newfound calmness. The whispers of the tortured soul were replaced by the soft hum of the wind outside. The bathroom mirror, once a portal to the supernatural, now reflected only my own tired eyes, free from the haunting specter that had plagued them. As the first light of dawn broke through the storm clouds, I realized that some houses carry the weight of their past within their walls. Our suburban haven had transformed into a sanctuary of peace, a place where the echoes of the past were finally put to rest. Our new home was a two-story cottage that seemed perfect. However, as charming as it appeared, there was an unsettling mystery tucked away in the heart of the house: the attic. From the first night, I could hear strange creaks and groans emanating from the upper floor, a symphony of unsettling sounds that echoed through the stillness of the night. As weeks passed, my curiosity morphed into an eerie fascination with the mysterious attic. I began to notice that the creaks weren't random. They seemed purposeful, almost deliberate. I shared my unease with my spouse, but they dismissed it as the settling of an old house. The attic, however, beckoned to me, and one stormy night, its call became impossible to resist. Carrying a flickering flashlight and a sense of fear, I ascended the narrow staircase leading to the attic. The air grew colder with each step, and the creaks intensified, as though the house itself protested my ascent. Upon reaching the attic, I was met with a scene frozen in time: dusty furniture draped in white sheets, forgotten relics of years gone by. The creaks persisted, leading me deeper into the attic's shadows. My flashlight's feeble beam danced across the forgotten artifacts until it settled on a wooden box nestled in a corner. Its edges were worn, and the latch was barely holding on, as if eager to reveal the secrets hidden within. Compelled by an unexplainable force, I pried the box open, revealing a trove of yellowed letters bound by a faded ribbon. Each letter bore witness to a tragic love story that unfolded decades ago. The words spoke of passion, longing, and heartache. As I read the letters aloud, the atmosphere in the attic shifted. The temperature dropped further, and a soft, mournful breeze rustled the sheets covering the furniture. It was as though the essence of the house had awakened, responding to the echoes of a love lost to time. Midway through the letters, a dark figure materialized before me. An elderly woman, her form flickering like a candle in the wind. Her eyes, pools of sorrow, bore into mine, pleading for acknowledgement. The creaks and groans reached a crescendo, resonating with the emotional intensity of the letters. With each passing revelation in the love story, the ghostly figure aged, her appearance mirroring the passage of time. She gestured towards the final letter with a spectral hand, her expression a mixture of gratitude and sorrow. As I read the last words, the attic was engulfed in a profound stillness, broken only by the distant echoes of thunder outside. The elderly figure faded away, leaving behind a serene emptiness in the attic. The creaks ceased, and a profound calm settled over the house. It was as if the long-forgotten love story had finally been acknowledged, and the spirits that lingered in the attic found solace. Over the following days, the house felt different. The air was lighter, and the atmosphere carried a sense of peace. The once closed doors and windows now opened effortlessly, welcoming sunlight and fresh air into every corner. It was as though the house had shed its haunted history, embracing a newfound tranquility. However, the echoes of that haunting night lingered in my memory. The attic, once a realm of mystery and creaking whispers, had become a sacred space, a testament to a love that transcended time. As I reflected on the experience, I couldn't help but marvel at the interconnectedness of past and present, and how the acknowledgement of forgotten stories could bring closure to restless spirits. Our new home, once shrouded in the shadows of an untold love, had transformed into a sanctuary of peace, a place where the echoes of the past had found their voice and were finally allowed to rest.